Hello all. Welcome to the American Halal Institute Introduction to the Halal Certification Process webinar. My name is Ibi Nasir, and on behalf of AHI, I would like to thank you all for joining us. I hope you are all safe and well and making the best out of the uncertain times we are in. If you are attending this webinar, you either want to take your company to the next level through the prospects of halal, or you might have some intrigue in the halal industry. Nevertheless, the American Halal Institute is here to be your guiding hand throughout your halal experience. In this webinar, we'll be covering everything you need to know about the halal industry. We will examine the fundamental aspects of halal, what it represents, and the opportunities halal present to us in the domestic space. We will also be diving into the intricacies and technical features of the halal certification process. By breaking down from start to finish what a halal slaughtering entails, as well as cover the proper way to package, transport, and handle halal goods, we hope to give a holistic view of the halal industry. So without further ado, let's get right into the presentations. First up, we have Salah Ubaidullah explaining the central features about the halal industry and the fundamental aspects of halal. Brother Salah.
Yes, Assalamu alaikum. Peace be with you. I thank Brother Ibrahim Nasser for that nice introduction. I would also like to thank everybody who took the time to attend this webinar. I hope it is as beneficial and as helpful as we hope it would be. AHI is basically an offshoot of the largest Islamic organization in this country, North American Islamic Trust, the purpose of which is to make sure that we continue to serve the Muslim community in so many ways. One of the issues that we were concerned about is the fact that the halal products and services have not gained the kind of acceptance that that should be in the United States. So we started AHI to promote the halal products and services by providing trustworthy certification with the following objectives in mind. We want to make sure that we simplify the process and make sure that it's seamless and it's easy enough for people to be able to certify their products. And we also want to make sure that the public, the Muslims of this country, would be accepting of that standard, would be accepting of that certification, because credibility is definitely an issue. And AHI enjoys the credibility of having access to over 3,000 Islamic centers and is well known to the entire Muslim community. At least the parent organization is well known to the entire Muslim community, actually, even in North America, including Canada. We also want to make sure that we provide our American companies the opportunity to take advantage of this market and to make sure that they can actually benefit monetarily from certified products. Yes, it is a service to the Muslim community. It would make it easy for the Muslim community to have their halal products, but at the same time, it is a golden opportunity for many American companies to be able to take advantage of that growing economy. We also believe that now if we were to buy any halal products, usually it's a little bit on the expensive side. So we want to make sure that making it competitive by making sure that additional companies or more companies are into this business, and they would have legitimate competition that would hopefully bring the price of halal products to a reasonable level. And we also want to make sure that this is a huge market. The halal market is a huge market and represents opportunities not only on the domestic side but also on the international side. And we want to make sure that all of our American companies have this opportunity to at least explore and hopefully take advantage of it and hopefully join the bandwagon. A lot of people would say, what is halal? Halal in Islam is considered to be, is called permissible, meaning that it's allowed. When we say halal, it's meaning that whatever product or service that if certified to be halal, meaning That means we can actually use it as Muslims. We can eat the products that are labeled as halal and certified as halal. Because of the fact that we don't have halal products here, in abundance, we have many times we would look for kosher products as a replacement. And as Brother Nasser alluded to, we probably spend $16 billion on kosher products. And I believe that the market for halal products in the US probably exceeds $50 billion, to say the least, and is continuing to grow. So this is something that we all should be aware of, that it's a huge market. It's really, the growth has been exponential over the past number of years, and we expect it to continue to be that way in the future. For halal to be halal, it has to meet all the criteria for the Islamic criteria. It has to be, in terms of the way it's produced, the way it's distributed, all the logistics have to lack all the kind of contamination that could potentially make a product non-halal. So it is important that we understand that it's the process begins, like when it comes to food, when it comes to at least slaughtered animals. It has to be from the time that the way you raise the animal, the way that you kill the animals, the way that you cut the animals, the way that you package the animals, the way that you distribute them, the way that you get them to the market. So it is called, it's from the F to F. It's from the beginning to the end. And also nowadays, 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago, the complication, the products were not as complicated. They didn't have the enzymes, and they didn't have all the additives that are part of today's products. So all the ingredients within a particular product, in order for it to be certified halal, has to have a halal source, meaning that you cannot have an enzyme coming from an animal that is not kosher, that is not halal, and put it in a product and then call it halal. It could not be. So it has to be halal all the way through. Producers and suppliers and retailers should understand that halal processing, the requirements, the international law, the Islamic legitimacy constraints are all part of making sure. So it becomes a mindset of how to make sure that the product that we certify as halal actually meets all the halal requirements that we need. Halal is, the opposite of halal is called prohibited or forbidden. It's an Arabic word, would be called haram, meaning it's not acceptable, it's not permissible, it's forbidden. And so what's forbidden? Anything that has to do with pig and any of its products is considered to be haram. All alcoholic beverages and intoxicants are also haram. Blood, that's why we insist that, when you slaughter an animal, all the blood must be released out of the body of the killed animal or the slaughtered animal. Any human body and its byproducts, anything that has to do with, an example of that is hair or anything of that sort, cannot be used as a catalyst in a product for a reason or another. We also are not allowed to have carnivorous animals and birds. We are also not allowed to have slaughtered, eat animals that are not slaughtered according to Islamic law. And we have to make sure that the entire process is not contaminated by non-halal products that could potentially. So meaning that you cannot mix pork and halal meat together and then transport them on the same mechanism, on the same truck, and say it is halal. It cannot be halal. It has to be, the entire process has to be halal. Let's move to the next slide. Halal is an Islamic value that has direct impact on how the products are produced, processed, packaged, distributed, stored, sold, and consumed. So it is an entire process that has to be monitored in order to make sure that the product is halal. There's also a misconception that everybody says when we had halal food, because everybody in New York and many areas where Arabs and Muslims are around, people are aware of the halal meat, halal sandwiches. The issue is not limited to slaughtering. It covers everything. It covers food. It covers beverages. It covers cosmetics. It covers pharmaceuticals. It covers every single product, because in pharmaceuticals, a lot of products or a lot of ingredients are not halal, and therefore, if you use gelatin in any of the products in packaging, vitamins, it will not be considered halal. The gelatin has to be from a halal source for it to be halal and for it to be acceptable to Muslims. Also, it covers non-food products and services at the financial side, and that's a different area altogether. But even on the finance, and we have our parent company runs the Iman Fund, and the Iman Fund is what we call a Sharia compliant fund, which means that it has to meet certain criteria. We are ethical, we are socially responsible, we stay away from products that have to do with alcohol, has to do with pig meat, or it has to do with defense. Anything that we consider to be questionable, we stay away from it, because that is part of our faith requirements. The closest thing, a lot of people have, we have a familiarity with kosher, and I'm trying to compare halal to kosher because that's the closest thing there, as Brother Ibrahim alluded to earlier, that there is an intrinsic and there are similar attributes between halal and kosher. But they are similar, but they are also, we differ on certain issues. Halal means permissible or allowed. In kosher, it means proper or fit in the Jewish law. The content or the process does not include pig or its ingredients. On that we agree. The kosher and halal agree on that. Animal must be slaughtered in a humane manner by an adult Muslim, and in the kosher, an animal must be slaughtered by a trained rabbi called sachet. So we have an agreement, but in terms for us, it's a little bit easier in the sense that as long as it's an adult Muslim, it's sufficient. On the kosher side, it would have to be a rabbi. Also, we differ on the enzyme aspect of it. On the enzyme, it has to be, the product has to come from a halal. All the protein enzymes have to come from a halal animal. Unlike in the kosher side, it doesn't matter what the source is. They consider that to be halal. They also, to Muslims, anything that has to do with alcohol is haram, and wine and all of that. In the kosher side, they consider that to be permissible. On our side, dairy and meat can mix. With the kosher, meat and dairy cannot mix. The reason I'm bringing this about is that if a company is already kosher, I think it has an easier path or an easy way to transition to halal, because some of the requirements are already met, and therefore coming to halal would not be as difficult or as demanding as those that do not have kosher certification. Why halal? The Brother Asad will be talking about why halal in terms of the economic benefits to any company that would be participating in the halal market. As you can see from this chart, the market is huge. Aside from the fact that you're talking about 1.8 billion Muslims worldwide, in addition to even the Muslims, now halal has become an acceptable definition for cleanliness and good products. And now, especially with the coronavirus, I saw numerous videos in areas of like Singapore and other areas where people actually gravitate toward halal restaurants and all that, because they believe that it is a cleaner and safer alternative for them. So it is very important. It's very important to realize that halal, just like even kosher, or sometimes when you say organic or vegan, it has a tendency to be perceived as being better than other products. So it is not only beneficial in terms of selling it to Muslims, but I think also non-Muslims would benefit out of it. And as we know that the kosher business has a lot of non-Jews buying it, I believe the same would apply to the halal products. I was actually surprised to see how many American companies are already producing halal products. Actually, I did a search on Amazon. I found hundreds of products that are already considered to be halal, and some of which are certified and some of which are not. But even looking at some of the major companies in the U.S. who are already producing halal, Purdue, Jenny, Butterball, I mean, all of them have halal products, and I'm sure there are benefits to them, and they have made a decision. And I'm sure most decisions are usually made based on economic factors initially. And I believe that they are all benefited out of joining the halal market. On the vitamin side, I actually saw maybe 10, 15 different vitamin suppliers who are halal. And I saw, you see the names like Kellogg and so many, as I said, so many products on Amazon, which means that it's already getting some traction. And I believe that with the proper promotions and lobbying and whatever it takes, this will become more than the kosher business. I mean, the kosher business is catering to approximately maybe 6 to 8 million American Jews, where basically, when you're talking about the Muslim community, you're talking about maybe 10 million Muslims, and the number is expanding. But aside from that, when you go international, you're talking about billions and billions of people, which is something that would be beneficial to any company to get involved with. And the halal food segment, Brother Asad will address this in more details, and he will also address the global side of the halal market. But the U.S. Muslims, as mentioned earlier, spent $16 billion on kosher food alone, and U.S. Muslims' expenditure is over $50 billion. And there is definitely a perception that halal and kosher is more wholesome. And so should company become certified, it will have an easy path for overseas halal business. Of course, there will be additional minimum requirements may be needed because many countries overseas require certain accredited companies. And alhamdulillah, with the partnership that we have with IHC, it will allow us to have access to all those markets, so we can actually cover the entire globe as far as being able to certify in an acceptable fashion to those people who are receiving it, the halal products. The expected growth. It's really, the growth has been exponential. 6 to 8% a year is really very timid and very, it's on the very low end. Population growth in the Muslim community is higher than any other group. That's because we have more kids. Availability of home delivery of halal products such as halal eat, halal on click, halal on door to door. All of these are coming up because of the need for the Muslim community to have halal. So there are certain entrepreneurs who have come into the business to try to make it easy for a Muslim to have halal products. And this is something that is a sign of things to come, and I believe that will be the case. As I said, increasing acceptance of halal by non-Muslims as superior to non-halal. I think we have talked about it earlier, and I believe that is truly the case because of the fact that we pay attention to the way things, the animal is raised, the way that it's humanely slaughtered, the way it's treated afterwards, the way that you have to keep everything clean and organized and wholesome. That contributes to that perception. How to become halal certified, Mufti Zihan of IHC, our partners, will be talking about this further, but it's a very simple process. You have an application, you have initial audit, you have remedies to comply if there are remedies that are needed, establishing policies and procedure to ensure compliances. Anything that anybody who has gone into ISO 9000 or 9001 or 9002 can relate to but I think it's much simpler than ISO certification. And then, of course, you get certification, and then, of course, there would be annual audits to assure that once you have established procedures, that those procedures are followed and that they are consistent. Because we are, when we certify a product, we are also certifying it not for your purpose only, but we are certifying it for the community at large, and our credibility is an issue. So when we say it's halal certified, it has to be halal certified. Otherwise, we have not done our job. As far as I'm concerned, this would be sufficient. I hope Brother Asad will be next, and he will be talking about numerous issues. Thank you for listening, and if you have any question, we will be answering it later on. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Brother Salah. Very informative and substantive presentation. Very impactful. The numbers and statistics really put into perspective how much potential is present in the halal marketplace. To further expand on the prospectus and outlook of halal, we have Brother Asad here to further explain the true potential of halal. Just a quick note, during this presentation, I will be dropping another poll, and I will also be sending a link to the survey, which you can complete at the end of the webinar when you have a chance.
Assalamu alaikum and good morning to all the ladies and gents who are participating in this webinar. My name is Asad Sajjad. I'm the Managing Director of International Halal Certification. We are proud to be the partner of American Halal Institute, offering them the technical support for this project of halal certification. My short presentation today will be on the global halal market, the potential and opportunities which exist. A little bit of intro. International Halal Certification is a premier certification body. We are working globally in over 15 countries at the moment. We are officially accredited and registered by the Emirates Halal Accreditation Body, also by the Pakistan Halal Accreditation Body. So we are the only company which has got dual international accreditation, and we're also a member of the World Halal Council, which is the premier body of the international halal certifiers. And we are working in over 15 countries, as I said. So this is a bit of introduction, and we are happy to be the partner of American Halal Institute to offer them the technical support in halal certification. What is the global halal market we're talking about? Our research shows that the size of the global food market is over $600 billion. And that's based on the Muslim population of about 1.8 billion Muslims. But this figure will be much higher if we include the non-Muslim consumers also who consume halal products. So this halal food, non-food together, the total size of the halal market is ranging about $3 trillion, and that's the latest research. This is my favorite Times magazine copy, which I always share. This was a copy of 2009, it's like 11 years ago, and Times was the first time it called it the halal economy. Not a market, but economy. And the title says $1 trillion plus a year. So 11 years ago, it was more than $1 trillion, which has now become almost $3 trillion. And I love this magazine copy always. So what is covered under this halal umbrella? The $1 trillion market we are talking about, we have divided it into three. The food, which is consumables, non-food, and services. I'll give you a quick summary of that. The consumables include the food ingredients, raw material, all type of packaged and processed food and beverages, agriculture products, seafood, special food, herbal, baby, health food, flavors, fragrances, ingredients, and raw materials. The food service, which includes the restaurant, cafe, fast food, and catering, the food which is served in these places. Meat and poultry abattoirs, the slaughterhouses. Pharmaceutical and nutraceutical, because they are also consumable. So we consume them, and that's why they're included in this category. And then the herbal and homeopathic and other type of medication is just a quick summary of what is included in the consumable. The non-food primarily includes cosmetics, personal care, baby, body care, toiletries, perfumes, baby care products, animal and poultry feed, the leather products, apparel and accessories, packaging and processing material, and equipment, which is involved in food and non-food product. Services, very important component of the halal umbrella. The main chunk is by the halal finance, but then our focus is more on the tourism, which is halal hospitality, halal processing, packaging, the complete supply chain, the food services, which is the service part of the industry. Consultancy includes halal auditing, certification, testing, warehousing, etc., and halal logistics. Now, this is very important. Halal logistics is important to ensure that the product remains halal from its origin to the consumer. So we call it from the farm to the fork concept. It has to remain halal. Halal, ladies and gentlemen, has a complete range of product. It is offered everywhere. You can find halal in supermarkets, five-star hotels, restaurants, fast food chains, airlines, school dinners, military food, even the prison rations are offering halal in different countries. It's a lifestyle choice with a wide range of products. The movement of halal globally has created entire new halal value chain. New sectors have emerged, like halal logistics, security, storage, auditing, and halal industrial development. Now, halal industrial development has got a big focus in Malaysia. They have over a dozen halal parks, halal food parks, halal export zones, where international companies are coming and investing. And that's a very, very big opportunity to attract foreign direct investment for any country. When we talk about the $1 billion, $1 trillion, the first thing which comes to our mind is who's making the money. Somebody is manufacturing, exporting, and making the money. So is it Saudi Arabia? Is it Egypt? Is it Turkey? Is it Pakistan? Is it the UAE? Which is the biggest halal exporter who's making the money? The research shows otherwise. The research shows the 10 biggest exporters of halal products are non-Muslim countries. They are the biggest manufacturers and exporters of halal products. Starts with India, Brazil, Australia, USA, Argentina, New Zealand, France, Thailand, Philippines, and Singapore have got more than 80 to 85% of the global market share of halal. India being the biggest in halal meat. Thailand is the biggest halal product manufacturer and exporter in the world. Thailand is a Buddhist country for that matter, but they are still the biggest in halal. Malaysia, Indonesia are the two main Muslim countries which have got almost 15% share. Other countries include Turkey, Iran, UAE, and most recently, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia has become very active in halal. But the main chunk, 80 to 85% of halal production and exports is in the hands of the 10 non-Muslim countries, which I have named earlier. So this is the biggest export market. Some figures for your interest. Brazil is exporting more than 1 million frozen halal chickens every year. France is exporting more than 750,000 metric tons of halal frozen chicken every year. USA is the 4th largest beef exporter in the world. More than 80% of the US frozen beef is halal. New Zealand is the 5th largest beef exporter. More than 40% of the New Zealand beef exports are halal. Who are the consumers? Who is buying halal? Who's paying for the $1 trillion, $1 billion market? We have divided it into continent. Asia has got more than 1.1 billion halal consumers. Africa's, including East, West, North, South, more than 470 million. Europe, 50 million plus halal consumers. Americas, including USA, Brazil, Canada, and also the Caribbean, more than 10 million halal consumers. And Oceania, the smallest, including New Zealand, Australia, and Fiji, has got 500,000 halal consumers. This is your world halal target market for export purpose. Some important figures To give you an example, Europe is doing more than $66 billion every year. France alone, 17 billion. UK meat export is more than $600 million annually. America is spending more than $13 billion annually on halal. GCC, which is the Gulf countries, $26 billion every year. Indonesia, the biggest Muslim country, the biggest consumer, more than $70 billion food bill every year. Other major importers include Malaysia, Egypt, Iran, Africa, and other Muslim countries. So this is just a summary of who's the consumer. Important markets to focus. I have highlighted just one market, which is China. The local population of China is double the size of the Gulf countries, which is a major requirement of halal products. The biggest scope, as we see, I've been to China a lot of time. My research shows Chinese are meat lovers. They eat meat, whether halal or non-halal, big meat eaters. So the biggest export is in meat and meat products. Population of China, as we all know, 1.2 billion market, but then there are 100 million plus halal consumers. 100 million halal consumers in China who need halal meat. So people who have meat and meat products. China, 24/7 you can export if you find the right buyers. Biggest potential to focus on. In the non-food, we have three sectors. Halal cosmetic industry is more than $64 billion. The UAE and the Gulf countries and North African countries are the biggest importers. So big potential for the personal care industry to brand their products as halal. Halal tourism, more than $180 billion a year, which includes the airline we travel, hotels we stay, destinations we go to. All major international countries, international bodies are focusing on halal tourism. Two examples. Thailand, which is famous tourism destination for everyone, is majorly focusing on halal tourism. And Japan, big focus on halal tourism. Moving on, modest fashion, which is primarily for the Muslim ladies. That has crossed over $200 billion turnover a year. So all textile-rich countries, all textile companies are definitely, they should attend to this modest fashion. So this is the non-food sector which I'm going to focus on. People ask me if they should invest. What is the future? Is there any potential in future? This is a survey which is done by the Global Islamic Economy Report. It's done by the Dinar Standard, which is a big research organization from USA and UAE. And they did this special report called the State of the Global Islamic Economy for the UAE government. And they compared the halal market size 2018 and the potential in 2024. And they divided into 7 sectors: food, cosmetic, fashion, travel, media, pharma, and Islamic finance. And you can see halal food, $1.3 trillion in 2018, moving on to $1.9 trillion. Cosmetic, 64 to 95. Pharmaceutical, 92 to 134. So there's a big increase from 2018 to 2024, showing the huge potential which lies in future. What are the halal products? We keep on talking about products. Why are we talking about products? This is a question which people ask me. Why are you not talking about slaughtering or halal meat only? Why are you talking about products? This is a misunderstanding which we have to clarify, because our understanding, majority of the Muslims in the world and non-Muslims, they think of halal as slaughtering, which Arabic calls zabi, in English it's slaughtering. Slaughter of meat and chicken. This is a misconception which has to be clarified, because in today's world, a lot of products are made from pig or pig byproducts. That includes food and non-food products. So anything which has got a pig contamination is not halal. And that is what we have to clarify. I'm going to give you an example of a lady called Christine Mendestrama. She's from Netherlands. She wrote a book called Pig 05049. So basically what she did a research on a pig which was labeled as 05049. And after slaughtering, what happened to this animal 05049? So for 3 years, she followed and did the research and brought this book, which she called Pig 05049. Christine said she discovered 185 different products which were made from pig byproducts. 185 from one animal. Christine says if you're a Muslim or even if you're a vegetarian, you still end up using a lot of products that are made from pig. Everything of this animal is consumed. Skin, bones, meat, internal organs, blood, fat, miscellaneous parts, everything is consumed. I've got a synopsis of her research for you to see. Pig skin, she discovered, is used in beauty products, skincare, face masks, body lotions, hair conditioner. It's used to make gelatin, which is used in making sweets, chewing gums, chocolates, energy bars, marshmallows. Pig skin is also used in pudding, jellies, ice creams, cheesecakes, tiramisu, UHT milk, fruit juices, extra calcium yogurt. This is all pig skin. Pig bones is used in so many things, but the problem we see is the pig bone glue, which is used in making matches, sandpapers, jigsaw puzzle, and leather products. Jigsaw puzzle is the same which our kids take in their mouth. Pig fat is used to make soap, toothpaste, washing powder, shampoo, anti-wrinkle creams, floor wax, and crayons. Again, the same crayons which kids take in their mouth. Pig blood used in chicken feed, fish feed, other industries. Internal organs heavily used in the pharmaceutical industry. And there's a complete book written on this topic. It's called the Halal Index. It is researched and printed in Malaysia. Halal Index is about the pharmaceutical which we are using in everyday's life, which are made from pig internal organs. Pig hair is used to make L-cysteine. L-cysteine is a bread improving agent, which is used majorly in the confectionery and the bread industry. Also used in the flavoring and seasoning. Also, pig hair is used in the butter industry, also in the brushes industry, including toothbrushes. Other pig byproducts include the wax. The wax made from pig, which is used as coating on the toothpicks, the wooden toothpicks and dental floss industry uses this wax. Pig blood glue is used in the meat industry as a binder, and this is something which is a major issue. It could be 100% meat, but that the glue which is used is out of pig blood. This is a chart just to show what all is consumed from the pig, and this is a chart of haram material, which includes human body, blood, carrion, pig, alcohol, as Brother Salah has mentioned earlier. Self-declaration, moving on. The previous slides is not to scare you, but just to aware you of what all is happening and how deep is the contamination. Moving on, we're talking about the self-declaration. What is self-declaration and how does it affect? Self-declaration means anybody who can write HALAL on their product. That is wrong. It is very risky and must be avoided. We have many examples of disasters which is happening because people, without realizing, they write HALAL, and it could be by mistake or it could be by falsely labeling. But the problem is self-declaration has to be avoided. I'll give you some examples of the disasters which has happened in the world due to self-declaration. There was pork found in Australia in an airline which was supplying meat, but the supplier behind them was supplying pork, and you can see halal product, but it was inside, it was pork, and there was a big issue. This was a very interesting case where it says pork mince, and this is a product from Malaysia, and on the right side it says halal. It was a Chinese product, and the Chinese company didn't realize what is the meaning of halal. They just started writing halal in Arabic and English on their pork, thinking it will help them sell, but they didn't realize that it's a fraud and they cannot do this. This was the biggest which happened in China a few years ago, when the police raided this warehouse and they found pork was sold as halal beef, and the people were treating the pork with chemicals as paraffin wax and industrial salts and making it look like beef. And this is the police making the raid. So there are many issues which are in the world which happen, so we have to avoid self-declaration. Halal, ladies and gentlemen, is synonymous with safe, healthy, and clean. It's a universal concept and the standard of choice for Muslims and a lot of non-Muslims. So the demand for halal, branded halal certified food are driven by the fast-growing Muslim population, which is going for halal, and the non-Muslims, which are looking for clean, healthy, and safe food. We are talking about clean, healthy, and safe. The different brands which are popular in the market, your market and our market, are kosher, natural, healthy, organic, environment-friendly, cruelty-free, ethnic, and fair trade. So all these brands are popular. Halal has gained credibility and popularity because in the non-Muslim society especially, they understand the principles of halal covers healthy, organic, environment-friendly, cruelty-free, ethnic, and fair trade. So it's all under one roof. One label is covering all, and that is what halal reflects. Halal certification, ladies and gentlemen, is a must to certify any product as halal. Halal certification is an endorsement of a product for the compliance of halal standard by an independent halal certification body. By issuing a halal certificate, the organization verifies that the production is maintained throughout as halal on the halal standards, processing and distribution together. So it's very important to select the right halal certification body for everyone. It's very important to ensure that your customers are getting the genuine, the authentic halal products, and they're satisfied with the halalness of your brand and your products. Halal has become a brand, and we talk about the power of halal because there's so many products and services on the market from so many unknown suppliers, different sources. It's inevitable that halal branding becomes more important in the market. It's a USP for the marketing people. It's a unique selling proposition, and that's what people are using halal. Brands are eye-catching. They are prominent. They help you sell. They differentiate your product. Brands provide information about your product. Brands restore your consumer confidence. Branding is very important. Halal is a brand which helps you expand your business by creating new markets, getting you new customers. Halal logo from an authentic halal body is going to help you sell. This is a presentation which is actually it's a survey which was done in Southeast Asia, Malaysia, Indonesia, Brunei, and Singapore for the consumer buying preferences. And there were 4 criteria: halal logo, brand name, price, and country of origin. And you can see the consumers with country of origin were 31%, price point 32%, brand name 69%. Halal was 83%, the highest percentage preferred buying with the halal logo. And that was the maximum important. This was a recent survey. Brand halal, ladies and gentlemen, has now become an international brand which is recognized by Muslims and non-Muslims for good quality and healthy products. The reason to expand this market up to $3 trillion. This ends my presentation. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer at the end of this session. And I'm going to switch off from my side. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Brother Asad. Before you go, actually, I just have a quick question for you regarding your presentation that I think you'll be able to answer pretty elaborately. Hello. So I was just wondering, which sector of the halal industry do you think has the highest chance or has the most growth potential in it? Where do you see the next boom in the halal industry coming? Is it food? Is it tourism? Is it cosmetics? Do you see a certain sector that has the most potential that
You see,
within the next few years?
I mean, this is a huge industry. You can't just pinpoint one. But then in the foods and non-food sector together, the grocery industry has been very, very, very important because of the COVID issue. Still, everybody was down. The grocery sector was still growing. Every food company I've come across, they have been producing more than before in the COVID because people ate more. There was nothing to do. So if you talk about all the products, food is the prime thing. Depending on whatever you're producing. But then because we don't know what's the future coming in COVID and how soon it will be over from the world. But then if you ask me just one sector, it is food. In non-food, I would say the baby products. The baby products, because regardless of you cannot eat for yourself. You don't have money, you still have to buy for your baby. So the baby food and baby products are the top in this list. And in the non-food, in the service industry, it was the hotel industry, but now we don't know what happened. So let's wait and see. The hotels, tourism, airlines, everything is down, everything is grounded. So the service industry, we just have to wait. It's all takeaway. And we still haven't started the halal takeaway service, but then I hope I'm trying to answer your question.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Excellent
Over
job.
and out from
Thank
my
you very
side.
much for your time. Thank you. Yeah, very descriptive and enlightening presentation, Brother Asad. Yeah, thank you very much for your time. I think we need to emphasize just how global the halal industry is. Malaysia, India, Thailand, Indonesia are all giant players in the halal market space. And it is truly remarkable to think that the halal industry is still growing, even after all the impact it has had on the world. Sliding into our next presentation, we have Mufti Zishan Abdulaziz presenting on the technical aspects of the halal standard. He is going to detail the halal slaughtering and food processing industries as well. Mufti Zishan, we're ready when you are.
My name is Mufti Zishan Abdulaziz, and I'm the CEO of this organization, International Halal Certification Private Limited, which is the partner organization for American Halal Institute for all halal certification activities in the American market. And today I'm going to speak regarding some of the technical aspects of the halal standard related to slaughtering and food processing. So our participants have a better idea of what definitely we heard what halal is from Brother Salah, and then Brother Asad spoke about the global halal market, the opportunities, and I'll be speaking about the technical aspects so our participants know what are the fundamentals requirement of halal slaughtering and processing, and then the process. Okay, so my profile, as I said, that by qualification, I've done my specialization in Islamic jurisprudence. My major was in halal and food and pharmaceutical ingredients. I've done almost around more than 800 audits of halal in almost all parts of the world. And I'm the lead auditor for various halal standards, which includes the GCC's halal standard, GSO, UAE halal standard, CIMIC OIC halal standard, Pakistan halal standard, Malaysian standard. And I've been associated with the various accreditation bodies as well. So what halal is, what haram is, we have already known about it. The most simplest definition of the word halal is the things that are permitted by the laws of Islam is halal, and the things which are prohibited, which have been declared impermissible, are considered as non-halal. It's the most simplest definition. If you go towards the most critical part of the halal industry, that is slaughtering, because that comes under the high risk category. If we categorize the food products and the non-food products which come under the halal umbrella, we categorize them in three categories: high risk, medium risk, and low risk. And the high risk is the industry which is related to slaughtering and meat processing. So we'll just speak a bit about it, and then we'll move towards the food processing. In the slaughtering industry, if we see that the standard talks about the supply chain related requirements, that the organization which is going for halal should implement a halal assurance system. Just like for various standards, we have quality management system, food safety management system. So the halal standards also talks about that the organization should implement halal food management system. And this halal assurance system is related to the entire supply chain, receiving of animals or birds from farm, logistics, pre-slaughtering requirements, slaughtering, post-slaughtering processing, and then transportation distribution. And the organization should have adequate information about the farm, what feed was given to that animal or bird, and what were the medicines or vitamins that were given to it. So we could ensure that everything was halal from the very much beginning. Okay, once the birds and animals have been received at the processing plant, there should be a receiving inspection. What this is what we call anti-mortem, and this is not just the requirement of halal, but it is requirement of the regulatory authorities as well. If you go for exports to various markets, the regulatory authorities also are very much concerned about the anti-mortem reports as well, to ensure that the animal which is coming into the processing plant is free from disease and all kind of dangerous and harmful things. Stunning, the most critical area. This is where a lot of people are worried about. So I'll share with you what the standard says about stunning. So if you look at the GSO and the UAE standard for GCC market and for the wider MENA region, we find that the standard gives us the guideline that the stunning is not allowed for poultry at all. However, for large animal, stunning is allowed, but still there are specific parameters that what type of stunning is going to be allowed. Only electrical stunning has been declared permissible, no hammer stunning, no gas stunning, and no penetrative captive bolt stunning. Only electrical stunning, that too which is non-penetrative and with specific voltage and ampere. And that should be for specific seconds, keeping in view the animal. If it's sheep, it's less. If it's camel, if it's different. If it's buffalo, it's different. And if you look at the Malaysian standard, it allows stunning for all sort of animals, large animals and for poultry as well. So, as I said, that various types of stunning procedures followed and method. So out of them, gas stunning, hammer stunning, all these types of stunning are very much harmful for the animal. In fact, some of these stunning methods kill the animal as well. So the stunning should not be to kill the animal, it should be for the purpose of making the animal unconscious so it could be slaughtered easily. Slaughtering requirement. The place where the animal is being slaughtered should be specifically used for halal species only. Okay, and the organization shall ensure the slaughterman should be a Muslim. Otherwise, if they're from the people of book like Christians and Jews, still the slaughtering would be acceptable. However, the slaughterman should be aware about the requirements of halal slaughtering. What are his responsibilities, what he has to follow, and what are the guidelines related to halal. He should be trained, educated, and aware about it. So the slaughtering should be done with the name of God Almighty, and once the slaughtering is done, recommended time for bleeding should be given, as mentioned in the standard as well, for the MENA region, for example, and for Malaysian and Indonesian market as well, where halal is regulated. So for poultry, the recommended time for bleeding is minimum 3 minutes to 5 minutes, and for large animals it is 4 to 8 minutes. So there is proper bleeding, and then the meat is free from all sort of blood, and then it's going to be safe for human consumption, as there will be no bacterial growth in it. And one thing is very important: no spinal cord or head should be severed during the slaughtering process, because this is going to be additionally painful for the animal, which should be avoided at all, because animal welfare is an essential part of halal standard. Animal welfare is a very important thing which should not be overlooked. So let's talk about the slaughtering equipment and tools. The organization shall ensure that the knife which is used for slaughtering process is razor sharp, and it should be sharp not in front of animal, because if it is done in front of animal, it might give additional stress to the animals, which is not good as far as the animal welfare is concerned, and it has an impact on the meat quality as well. The blade should be hard enough, should not be flexible, and then the knives which are used should be properly sanitized. And in this area as well, the standard has given us a guideline that all the sanitation should be done at a temperature of 82 degree. All the tools should be sanitized in hot water, and it should have the temperature of 82 degree. So then once the slaughtering is done, we have a couple of post-slaughtering requirements. The organization shall ensure that there is a halal supervisor or inspector which is posted right after slaughtering to ensure that the animal is properly slaughtered. Whether it's poultry, sheep, or large animal, it should be properly slaughtered. And if any of the animal was found not properly slaughtered, then it is not halal. It has to be removed from the production line. It has to be transferred to a separate dedicated area, and then it should be discarded. It is not allowed to sell that meat because it's not halal. Once the animal has been declared dead properly, after proper bleeding, then only additional process for deskinning or defeathering should take place. And as I said, the time frame for this process is approximately 3 to 5 minutes for poultry for bleeding, and for large animal it's 4 to 8 minutes. Very important thing, personal hygiene of management and staff. The people who are working in the abattoir, in the slaughterhouse, in the processing plant or further processing plant should be medically examined before they are appointed or before they are sent for working in the processing plant. And they should be properly trained in their hygiene related responsibilities as well. Because if they are not properly trained, they might contaminate the product, and the product might become filthy, might not be halal anymore. Even the visitors who are coming to the slaughtering area, whether they are people from the management or maintenance staff, they should wear separate dedicated uniform. They should have proper shoes, which should be specified for specific areas. The workers which are working in dirty area should not go for the clean area. The workers who are responsible for deboning of the meat, they should not be working in the slaughtering area. So there is less chance of contamination. Traceability, a very important aspect, not just for the food safety, but for halal as well. The organization shall establish and apply a traceability system that enables the identification of slaughtered batches and their relation to the batches of processing and delivery records. As we say that halal is not just slaughtering, it's from farm to fork. So we should be able to trace the packet of meat which is sold on Walmart or any other supermarket to the date when it was slaughtered, from which animal was this meat obtained, where was that animal coming from which farm, what was the feed that was given to the farm. We should have this strong enough traceability system to ensure that halal was followed at each step of processing. Let's talk about the food processing and the processed food industry and the ingredients. So if you look at the sources of product, what we have right now in the modern day food industry, we find that all the food products or raw material, they're coming from 4 sources. Either it can come from plant source, mineral source, animal source, or it can come from synthetic source. Earlier, there used to be only 3 sources: plant source, mineral source, animal source, because there was only natural source products and raw materials. But now, due to the advancements and the technology we have in the food industry, we have synthetic and artificial source as well. So if you look at them one by one, if we see the guideline related to halalness of plant source material. So all plant source material are permissible, they are halal, provided that they are not hazardous for human health, because there are certain plants which are poisonous, so you cannot consume them because they are harmful for human health. Secondly, they should not be intoxicant. For example, grape is halal, it's fruits. You can have grape juice as well. But once there is fermentation in that grape juice and it becomes intoxicating, then it's not permissible anymore. So as I said, that plant should comply with these 2 requirements. Similarly, the mineral source. All minerals are halal. Like for example, salt is a mineral. But then we need to know that it should be free from hazardous material, should not be harmful for human health, and it should also be not intoxicating. Animals, as Brother Salah spoke about the permissible and non-permissible animals. So anything which is extracted from non-halal animals, for example, if you had gelatin coming from pig bones or hides, for example, or anything which is not halal, then that raw material or component which has been produced from that animal source is also not going to be permissible. Synthetic source, artificial source. We have a lot of products made these days by biotechnology. So the ruling about the synthetic source is that all synthetic source material are halal, provided that they should not be contaminated with anything which is non-halal. Secondly, they should not be harmful for human health, and they should not be intoxicating. If this is the case, like we have a lot of artificial colors and artificial flavors and then additives which are being used in the food industry, and they are permissible. So, talking about halal food, what does that mean? That means a food which is fit for human consumption and is permitted by the laws of Islam is lawful, for example. The food or its ingredients should not contain any part or products from animals that are non-halal species, or if the species was halal but it was not slaughtered properly and did not comply with the requirements of slaughtering which we mentioned earlier, then that food or raw material will not be permissible. Let me give you an example. There is a bread improver which is being used in the food industry. It is called L-cysteine. There are two sources of L-cysteine. It can come from human hair and it can be extracted from duck feather. If it is coming from human hair, that would not be permissible because of the dignity which the nature has given to human being, and therefore human meat or any part of human body is not permissible. You cannot extract anything and consume any part of human beings. Halal products should not be prepared or processed or manufactured using filthy equipments. Filthy, we call this word in Arabic najis, filthy, or should not have remained at any point with anything which has been declared filthy or najis. So, the requirements related to halal food processing, the ingredients should be from halal source, and this is the first line of defense. The procurement department in any food organization should ensure that whatever raw material they are purchasing for the production in the company should have a halal certificate from a certification body which is accredited, which is recognized globally, and is authentic. This is your first line of defense. If you stop anything non-halal coming from the company, you will be safe from a lot of problems. Food processing and packaging must be checked thoroughly to verify that there is nothing against the halal related requirements. The packaging material should not have anything which is non-halal in it, because we, based on our experience of certifying companies all over the world, we found out that certain packaging material, even specifically the primary packaging material, which is coming in contact with the product, some of the packaging material had few additives which were coming from non-halal animal sources. Cross-contamination must be avoided at all stages. This is very essential. In processing, all equipments must be clean and its proper inspection should be done. And if the production line was used for non-halal related production, then it should be ritually cleansed, it should be properly washed, and then only you're allowed to produce halal products on the production line. All halal products should be segregated during the storage as well to avoid any sort of cross-contamination, to ensure that halal is not compromised at any stage of the supply chain. Here comes my presentation to an end. I hope I have completed within the timelines, and thank you so much, everybody, ladies and gentlemen. And over to you, Brother Ibrahim. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mufti Jishan. That was an excellent presentation. Very informative, very detailed, very descriptive, very enlightening. Alhamdulillah. Thank you very much for that. If you would like to schedule an appointment with one of our representatives here at AHI, you can just click on the link and it should take you to a page where you're able to schedule it. Whether you want to receive a quote or you just have any questions or concerns that you want to discuss over the phone with one of us, we are more than happy to take your call and speak with you at that time. I think it's time to move on to our question and answers portion of this presentation. So if I can have all the presenters just turn on their cameras and audios just so we can see everybody. Okay, so I think we have our first question is for Brother Salah. Brother Salah, where do you see the halal industry? Excuse me, sorry. Brother Salah, why would a non-Muslim want to eat halal certified foods? What is the benefits, and why would they be drawn to eating even halal
Well,
certified
halal
products?
products meets a certain standard. It's a cleanliness aspect of it. If a product is supposedly like meat or chicken or any of those products, the animal is humanely slaughtered. That's one. We make sure that actually that what they eat is actually what we consider halal or tayyib, meaning that it's good for the animal and it does not contaminate that meat. We make sure that the whole process is clean and organized. So there is a set of standards, safety standards that come along with being certified as halal. So that like just an example, when you buy certain vitamins and they say that it's controlled by USP, which means there's another organization that actually looks after to make sure that the ingredients are proper, that the efficacy is correct, and all that it meets certain guidelines. So whenever you have somebody who's looking after a product, usually that product is safer, cleaner, meets the criteria, and actually meets the presentations that is being made, or any claims that are being made. That's why, as I said, when I mentioned in my talk, when you have certain in Singapore and areas where even in China, that people were rushing to halal restaurants because of the fact that they knew that Muslims providing halal products meet a higher set of standards. If you look at Hebrew nationals, when they say that the Department of Agriculture allows us to meet certain standards, but to allow us to put certain things in our products, but we don't. Why? They say we have to meet to a higher standard, and that higher standard is a godly standard. So we as Muslims, we have to meet what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what Islam tells us what we need to do, and therefore we do adhere to a higher standard than others, and so the product is going to be cleaner, better, actually better to eat. It's almost like organic meat, but it's also halal in the sense that it has to meet also Islamic criteria of doing the prayers and making sure that an adult Muslim is killing it and all that. So it's a second level of assurance that the product that you are having is actually meets what the claims that are being made on that product.
Thank you very much for that. Mufti Jashad, do you want to add anything on top of that to Brother Salah's answer?
Yeah, actually, the question which we had was that why non-Muslims would go for halal. What I've observed based on my experience or doing certification activities all over the world and interacting with people and delivering the trainings, we have observed that scientifically now it has been proven that halal is safe for human consumption. It's much safer. Even just very simple thing, slaughtering. The meat which is slaughtered properly, the animal which is slaughtered properly, the meat is of better quality than of the animal which is not slaughtered properly. For example, the bleeding in the halal way of slaughtering is spontaneous, it's properly drained out, so the meat is safe from various bacteria and various diseases. Whereas if it's not slaughtered properly, the blood will remain inside and it will make the meat later on harmful for human health. So the point is that it has been proven scientifically that halal is much better for people, and therefore people have now started buying halal products knowing that this is safe, this is good, and this is according to the beliefs as well.
Thank you for that. Okay. Moving on to the next question from one of our audience members. They were asking, how long is the process to be certified? And they are a meat slaughtering plant. So they're just curious about how long it would take from start to finish regarding the halal certification process. Brother Salah, would you like to answer this one?
I think that the brother Asad would be better suited to answer that question. because they have more experience in this area. But the process should not once the application is made and once we know exactly what the size of a place and what they exactly do and what they how many products do they want to certify. The process should not take a long time, but I think that the brothers from IHC can elaborate further.
Please,
I'll speak on behalf of Brother Asad because operationally I'm looking after the certification activities. So our brother or sister has asked about the certification process. Brother Ibrahim, correct me if I'm wrong. It was regarding to the slaughtering process certification,
Yeah.
or?
Yes, they are a meat slaughtering class. Yes.
So let me explain with you the certification process in short words. Once we get the application form, we send the proposal. Once we sign the contract, then we send you the documentary requirements. We send you the applicable halal standard based on your market requirement, where you want to export, where you want to sell. We send you the halal standard and the documentary requirements. Definitely your quality assurance team or quality control team will work on those documentation requirements. Once they are ready for with the documents and they're ready for the audit, we come for the audit. The audit initially in the first year is divided in two stages: stage 1 audit and stage 2 audit. For the high risk and medium risk categories, the stage 1 audit has to be on site as well, and also the stage 2. For the low risk category products, for example, the agriculture based products, standard has given specific guidelines that stage 2 has to be in any case on site, but stage 1 can be done off site. Yani we sitting in our office and review the documents. But for the slaughtering, it has to be stage 1 and stage 2 both on site. We'll visit the plant, and then we see the slaughtering process, even the receiving of animals, in the entire process flow. We'll go as per your process flow chart. We'll interview the slaughterman to assure that he is complying with the halal requirements, he knows the halal requirements, he has been properly trained, and then the meat processing and the further cutting, deskinning, deboning, whether it's frozen meat or chilled meat, it's all done as per the halal requirements. Once everything is complied, there is no non-conformity, no non-conformance, then the entire case is put up in front of the decision-making committee, which is an independent committee which has experts in it, and then the independent decision committee takes the decision whether to grant the certificate or to have any other additional requirements. So this is the process. And if I talk about the timelines, we, AHI and IHC, can do this complete process within 15 to 30 days. And this is the timeline we might need based on our auditors' availability and schedule. But then this is when you are ready for the audit. But if your quality assurance or quality team needs more time for document preparation, then that delay is not going to be from our side. It's
Okay. Thank you very much for that. Next question from another audience member. Okay. So how do you educate the common consumer on the qualitative importance of the halal label? How do you put value into that label and make it a substantive thing? How do you give value to it? Mufti Jishan or Brother Salah, either one of you would like to take this one? Sorry.
Brother Asad, do you want to answer it or you want me to answer it?
Yeah, well, I can answer that.
Okay.
Just quickly repeat what was the question again?
So the question was, how do you educate the common consumer on the qualitative importance of the halal label? When they see that label, how do you give that label value? How do we get the word out there about the value of halal foods, halal certified foods?
Well, you see, I mean, the education is done by workshops and trainings. That's to start with. But then we have to see what is the requirement for halal at the end of our client. Our clients means the people who are getting halal, and then their clients are the consumers who are buying. So for the consumers, we have to focus on the values behind the label of halal, which I have been talking about. You know, when you talk about halal, you talk about halal wa tayyib. Tayyib reflects the wholesomeness, the goodness, which carries with the halal label. So we have to focus, the consumers, we have to focus about the goodness of halal. And I'm just going to give an example. like 5 minutes ago, I got this message, and this is something I'm reading from my cell phone. It's a BBC news. There's a new strain of flu which has emerged, which is infecting humans, and it has to be monitored. The scientists are saying, and this is a flu virus with pandemic potential found in China from pig-based. So, this is just latest, and it's BBC News. When we talk about halal, there's no such issue. Halal is healthy. That is the biggest label, which is for the consumers. Now, as far as the companies who are going for halal production, there are different reasons. We have the religious reasons. If they are the clients which we have, or the people who are getting the halal certification, if they are Muslims, they would go because it's a religious requirement to get it halal. But for non-Muslims, halal is a big brand name. It's a big label, as I've been talking about, and it will help you sell your product. If a halal consumer is going to the supermarket and they see 20 products lying on the shelf, they see a halal label, they'll pick up that product. They'll buy the product looking at the halal label. So the product will enter into their house with the help of halal. And once they eat the product, they like it, and they'll look at the branding and it's okay, whatever that brand is, so they can go back to that. So halal, it actually opens the doors to new markets.
Very, very well put, Brother Asad. Thank you for that. I think we have time for a few more questions. So if the audience just wants to keep letting them run in, I'll get going with the next one. I think this question might be best suited for Mufti Zishan because he touched on it a little bit with his presentation. But it's regarding the use of GMOs and how that involves the halal certification process. I believe he touched on the. Assalamu alaikum, Mufti Zishan. Your audio was off. Can you just unmute yourself, please?
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah.
So the question's regarding GMOs, genetically modified organisms, and how that reflects in the halal certification process. Are there different standards or different compliance measures that are needed for GMOs, or is it under the same category?
Yeah, with regards to the GMOs, some of the standards have not discussed a lot at all about GMOs. Some of the very standards have discussed about GMO. While the guideline regarding the GMO is that if there is genetic engineering in the animals, for example, a halal species engineered with a non-halal species, and then a certain animal is born, that animal will not be considered halal because it is a combination of a halal or non-halal species. If this sort of genetic engineering is happening, then, as I said, that if it's coming from a non-halal species as well, it's not going to be permissible. However, we have genetically modified products now, vegetable-based, plant-based. We have GMOs in rice, we have in tomatoes. A lot of genetic engineering is done to increase the shelf life. So at this point, this is not going to be haram. It's going to be considered permissible halal, provided that it is not harmful for human health. Some of the scientists are of the view that GMOs are carcinogenic, they are cancer causing. So if this is true, that a certain product after genetic engineering becomes harmful to such an extent that it can cause cancer as well or some other severe disease, then that will be impermissible. But still, since we have a lot of genetic engineering happening to increase the productivity, the shelf life, the yield as well, so that is permissible. We have certified, like for example, soya is being imported from United States into UAE, for example, and soya bean oil is being produced from it, and that's GMO based, but still it's certified halal.
Thank you very much for that, Mufti Zishan. Very informative. I think we have time for one more question, and it's a relatively simple one, but someone was wondering if a company is already kosher certified, why should they become halal certified if it's so similar, the qualifications? Why should they go out and get that halal certification? Mufti Zishan, would you like to answer that one?
Yeah. So you see, kosher is a religious requirement coming from our brothers and sisters from Jew community. The Muslim community has their own religious requirements as per the beliefs. and they need to have halal. It's not that 100% kosher is equal to halal. It's not like that. There are few things which are permissible in halal, but they are not permissible in the kosher certification. Similarly, there are few things. There are very few, but then there are few things which are permissible in the kosher, but they're still not permissible in halal. So we cannot say that halal is parallel to kosher. That is why when we go for the regulatory authorities, when you export, for example, if you have a buyer's requirement, you have to comply with it. If you have to export to a certain market where the government has their own regulation related to halal, those Muslim governments like United Arab Emirates, Malaysia, Indonesia, now Pakistan as well, Egypt, Iran as well. So you have to comply with their halal related requirements and even their halal standards as well. Some of the countries have their own halal standards. So it cannot be avoided because you have to export, you have to comply with them.
Okay. Thank you very much for that, Mufti Jashan. And I think that's going to wrap up our webinar. On behalf of the American Halal Institute, I would like to thank you all for joining us on our halal industry webinar. Please do not forget to complete the survey linked in the chat room for a chance to win the Visa gift card. The survey is really going to help us get some feedback on where we need to improve and how we can tailor ourselves to better suit your needs. Also, please don't forget to check us out at our website at ahiusa.net for more information. I will drop a link for that in the chat box as well. Currently in the chat box, there is a link that will take you to the webpage where you can schedule an appointment with one of our representatives. This could be, like I said before, just a quick back and forth, or if you want to get a quote, or if you'd just like to talk to us and you have more questions, we would love to be on the phone with you and get your feedback from that as well.
Brother Ibrahim, we have a question, I guess, on the right side. I can see in the chat from Mona Ahmed. How many halal certification companies are there, and is there one that oversees all of them? Have we answered this question, or can we?
I missed that. My apologies, Mona. I'm sorry for that. Mufti Jashan, would you like to take that question then and answer?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So this is a very good question coming from Mona. Thank you so much for this question. Basically, if you see overall, there are almost around 300 halal certification bodies all over the world. Okay, all over the world, and most of them are located in European market, but then we have a couple of them in Northern South America as well, in Australia and Far East Asia as well. Very few in the MENA region. So now, all these 300, can we say that all of them are reliable? The point is that for the reliability or the authenticity of any certification body, I was just having a certification body certificate yesterday coming from Netherlands, and when we did our research and investigation and traceability, we found out that certification body is just on paper. There is no credibility, no authenticity for that certification body. It was not approved or accredited or recognized by any regulatory authority in the world. It's not approved by anybody. Anybody can open up a company, start issuing certificate, but that's not acceptable. So the criteria is that we need to see that the certification body should be accredited by an accreditation body. And now we have an authority as well on the top of it. The question you asked, that is there anybody who oversees them? Yes, we have International Halal Accreditation Forum. I have, just like for ISO certification, when you go for 9,000, ISO 22,000 food safety management system, or other ISO related standards. So all ISO related certification bodies have to get accredited, and those accreditation bodies, the ISO certification bodies over here, then the accreditation bodies are there who are responsible to approve the certification bodies. And on the top of that accreditation body is IAF, International Accreditation Forum. For example, if a certification body is accredited by an American accreditation agency, A2LA, okay, then A2LA is a member of IAF. This shows the credibility, number one, and it is for the recognition of the certificate all over the world, because all the accreditation bodies which are member of IAF, they've signed MRAs, mutual recognition agreement. Therefore, a food safety certified company in America, their certificate is accepted in Dubai as well, or Australia as well, because of this. Similarly, for the halal industry, I have International Halal Accreditation Forum, and we have a couple of accreditation bodies which are member of IHAF, and those accreditation bodies are authorized to approve this certification. So the CBs, halal CBs, which are accredited by any one of them, is the one where you can rely, where you can trust, and then you can get certified from them. And this is what AHI and IHC are offering in the American market. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that, Mr. Jishan. Okay, so I think that's going to wrap up our webinar. On behalf of the American Halal Institute, I would like to thank you all for joining us. Please, like I said, do not forget to complete the survey. It's really going to help us out in getting these webinars out to you and getting to you guys what you want to hear. Also, please don't forget to check us out at ahiusa.net for more information. There is going to be a link in the chat box that will also take you to our scheduling webpage where you can set up an appointment with one of our representatives. We are very excited to get started on your halal journey and want to be there every step of the way. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you
so much,
Rahim, for a job well done. Thank you for being an excellent moderator. Thank you.
Appreciate it.